Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular portion of the Jackson Selectmen's meeting on March 27th, 2018. It is 3:30 p.m., so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And agenda item 1 is chairman's selection. Without the full board here, we're going to table that because we'll need all three of us here to go through that process. Item number 2 is approval of minutes from our February 27th meeting. That was the meeting right before our annual meeting. Have you had a chance to kind of go through those minutes?
I was very happy with the minutes as written.
Okay, excellent. And I didn't see anything either, so I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. On a roll. Next would be action items. We took care of all of our action items and nothing new has cropped up, but we do have some meetings coming up that we want to make sure everybody knows about. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 10th at 3:30 p.m. And we also have a second meeting in April, and that'll be Tuesday, April 24th at 3:30 p.m. Both meetings are right here in the town office, and our May meeting dates have been set as well as Tuesday, May 8th and Tuesday, May 22nd, both at 3:30 p.m. right here in this room. So hope you can join us for those, and those will be posted all around as usual. Next up is public comments. Sarah, your hand I saw first, and then we'll go.
Okay, I just wanted to ask if it would be now or if it would be appropriate time to talk about the reimbursement for health insurance would be to go down to old business C.
Yeah, 7C is where we'll address that.
And
If you have a comment to make now, you can make a comment, but we'll be addressing that agenda item when we get to it.
okay, then I guess I would like to comment on it, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. I brought up to the attention to the selectmen that in our town warrant book of 2016, it stated that the police insurance budgeted for one negotiated reinsurance reimbursement. And so I'm going to use that as an example today to speak up. So if we took the chief of police and we go to our new budget book, 2017, we'll see that wages and budgeted overtime is $66,950, with a statutory benefits of $6,208, making a total for our position $73,158. And this is just an example, but should this be the office that hits it, that would make a total, if they got the reimbursement for the insurance, that would make the total for our chief of police $90,283. It was also stated in our budgeted book that these no longer could be put in there because of HEPA. Well, I've got a budget book here from Tamworth, New Hampshire, and on page 18 of their book, they have their department, police department. They have PD health buyout stipend reimbursement, and they give the number in which they do, which is 36,000. Excuse me, I apologize, 3,600. Our reimbursement is $17,000 per reimbursement. I also would like to state that, again, I have been to Conway, and it's $1,250. I've been to Bartlett, it's $1,800. Molten Borough, $4,300. Concord, $3,700. $140, an individual is $1,300. I also talked to private companies, and as was stated at our meeting, the private sector does not seem to do the buyout of reimbursement. We had a gentleman, Scott Badger, who owns a business and spoke, and he did not give it. Also, I've called the state of New Hampshire in Concord, and they do not give any reimbursements. I've spoken to a representative of Carroll County, and they were flabbergasted that the town of Jackson affords $17,000 for a reimbursement. So I'm just asking the board, and I think it was pointed out by Mr. Doherty as well, I cannot find in the policy book where it states any amount of money. It just says that reimbursement is negotiated. So I would like to ask you what was the date the insurance reimbursement was added to the personnel policy for the town of Jackson? Who was the person or the selectman or whatever that brought this to the fore? And was this ever brought up at a regular selectmen's meeting so the taxpayers would be aware of this and be allowed to have any input? And if that is true and there was a meeting and I happened to miss it, I'd like to know the date and have a copy of the minutes. I would like a copy of the analytical evaluation that the selectmen came up with to establish the figure of $17,000 for reimbursement for taking health insurance through the town. And like I said, the state of New Hampshire gives no waivers. And if you could answer those questions, I'd appreciate it.
Well, just like all the information you seek, when you seek information, all you need to do is step up to the window and ask in the format that we require. We've never withheld information from you or anyone else that's asked for it, and we'll be happy to provide you with whatever you want. As far as the disclosing actual amounts and violations of HIPAA, we have never denied anybody information here that they're entitled to. Whenever we have a question about somebody asking for information and there's a question in our minds about whether it's okay to provide it, we check with the New Hampshire Municipal Association and or our town council. And when they tell us that we can't provide information that somebody's asking for, that's basically when we deny, and we deny on the grounds that we're told we need to deny from. And again, we will be addressing health insurance later in the meeting, but for the time being, I've got that kind of a response for you. And again, we always encourage people, if there's an issue that's important to you, any issue of concern, and you want it on the agenda, please let us know. Please give us notice. Please let us know specifically what you'd like to have discussed, and we'll be happy to do our best to inform ourselves so that the two of us, sometimes three of us, can have an informed discussion when it comes up on the agenda.
Well, sir, may I just state here that in your minutes to your meeting, it states that I did ask that, and you said you would put me on the agenda.
Yeah, well,
you're
we
not
said we would.
specifically, but health
Yeah,
insurance was your topic, is on the agenda.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you specifically wanted that information presented at the annual meeting, and that's when we provided it. Priscilla.
My issue is, I have two issues to bring up. One is with the electricity and the other is with the health insurance also. When you stated that the average cost of health insurance is $30,000, I was shocked. And the fact that some of the people in the town meeting were agreeing with that made it a double shock. Some soldiers don't even make that much money per year in wages. And $30,000 a year, let me tell you what $30,000 a year can buy you in health insurance. Realistically, if you research it independently, you can buy $1 million insurance policy for $30,000 a year. And what that means is if something did happen to you, they would pay you out a lot of money for that. They could pay you out that money. And Mrs. Julie, she sent me the company that you're going through to buy this health insurance, and that's probably exactly what they do. What they do is they'll buy a health insurance policy worth $1 million, and they'll pay out whatever you're taking out, but they'll keep the rest for themselves. And it's a profit for them, even though sometimes they say, "Oh, we're non-profit," but they have ways of getting around that. And you know, I had to do a lot of research for my parents to get them health insurance. A lot of research. I had to call around hours. I was on the phone from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening, on the phone all day, researching. Where's the best health insurance in New Hampshire to get the cheapest? I couldn't just say, okay, this is the best, I give up, and pay them $2,000 a month. That's ridiculous. Finally, what I did find is United Healthcare, which does have all those things that you have right now at a much affordable rate. So what my suggestion is to go to United Healthcare, call them up. They have a New Hampshire thing set up, and see what they offer in comparison, because I'm sure that their rates are much lower. And that's where I found my health insurance for my family at the most affordable rate. We only pay with in supplemental insurance. My parents only pay $50 a month, not $2,000 a month. That's ridiculous. Nobody in the world should ever pay that much for health insurance, and it's just robbery. My other thing was with the electricity. A gentleman was talking about affordable housing, and I brought up electricity. And I said we need to get the electricity going. I went to the meeting with the New Hampshire Electric Co-op. They said that they actually went to court and were fighting with the government to lower the taxes because they tax them on equipment, and that tax goes passed on to us, and that's why our electricity is so high. And then I reached out to the New Hampshire House of Representatives. We're lucky that right here in Bartlett, what's his name? One of our representatives is the head of the House of Representatives in Concord. And he told me that in the fall they're going to be doing something with that, doing a report, and he's going to be sending me more information about that. So we'll have the ability to rally for lower electricity costs. And that's a good thing for everybody, and I hope that everybody gets involved and votes or rallies for it so that we can get our electricity costs down. Because what's happening is we're paying the taxes for places like Concord, which has a big city and a lot of equipment. We're paying also a percentage of their taxes, and we shouldn't be doing that. And that's what they're trying to make it more fair.
Okay, well, thank you for the comments. Anybody else have a comment? B?
Why does the town office close if the school closes?
Typically, the schools close because of snow days and the roads, and so we kind of looked at it and said, we don't have a policy, and so should people be calling up every morning? And we just felt like that was probably the easiest way to address it, is tie it into superintendent and road agents in sending towns and Conway making decisions that buses can't roll, which is basically why schools are closed. So that's where we came with that. Another second comment? Anybody else have a first comment before we go around the second time? Bob?
Yeah. Couldn't it be possible to have the meetings at night like they used to be, and then you get a lot better turnout? And another question is, what happened to your third man? Did you fire him?
Yeah, John has ended up with a last-minute teaching obligation, and he asked us not to change the meeting time to accommodate him, that he'll be back in full strength on May 5th. So, second comment, Sarah.
Yes, with this new policy of closing our office down with the school time, does that mean that our employees are taking their own personal time off or vacation time, or does that mean that we as a town taxpayers are paying for their day off?
They typically make up for it throughout the week.
So they would put in their 8 hours at some point during that same week?
Yeah. Any more comments? Okay.
Is this going to be discussed later on under the other agenda item, or is this?
Health insurance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I have some more comments, but we'll wait till then.
Okay.
Let you get through the town stuff.
All right, then we'll move on. Building inspector's report. Come on up, Kevin.
Here are the decks.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
There is a lot here.
Let me see, we got 10 turn-away, it's replacing siding, windows, existing deck. Adding a roof portion to the doorways and storage. We got 12 Partridge Lane's renewal for a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom home. That's ongoing, it's almost complete. 1143 Route 16 Dana Place, remodeling a house in the back. That's on the right side of Dana Place. It's a separate building. 5-bedroom, 5-bath, and someone had a question about that. I had an email, and the permit came in as years ago back in 1988 as a 3-bedroom, but I looked up the septic and they have right to put actually 6 bedrooms in there.
With the current septic.
Yes, with the current septic, so they're good to go. And
Is that a
actually,
residence or a road or?
no, it was a
That's the
residence.
freestanding house
Yeah,
back in
it is.
there, right?
It's always been a rental, and it's going to still be a rental. And Jamie did a walkthrough the other day, and it's a 5-bedroom. That's what it is. 31 North Hampshire Ridge, install a 20 kilowatt standby generator. 32 Ridge Road. Well, it says new metal roof, but they also insulated, and there was some work done on a metal beam and moved to, it's a flat roof basically. Maybe like a 2-pitch or something. Kind of interesting place.
How do they do the metal roof?
It's standing raised seam.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they raised it to put more insulation, and it didn't have much. And then there was a beam in there that was actually the cold from the roof penetrating through was getting cold and condensation. It
Yeah.
was dripping down until it was in the house, so it's all wrapped around. 36 Partridge Road. This is going to be for a garage with a master bedroom expansion. And they're taking 1 bedroom and just expanding it basically. No change in bedroom count. One Carter Notch Road, installing a bunch of new windows. Taking up all the floors in the dining room. Completing the elevator project. That's something to do with the mechanical ventilation and installing a generator for, I think, the whole entire complex. And 276 Iron Mountain Road, that was for the 6x8 addition. That was way up on Iron Mountain. They went to the ZBA for that. That's all approved now. 18 Main Street, converting 1-bedroom apartment to a commercial space. Adding stairs to the back side. That's right down here. 31B, Wentworth Ave. Renovating a kitchen and a bath. And then we have, I think this is, 28 Deer, this is for demolition. They basically took down the walls, the roof, saving the deck, and they're going to rebuild on that. They had all the asbestos abatements, and they did find some asbestos, and that's all getting taken care of. And then you had a question a couple weeks ago about that, the electrical job up on Dundee Road, the cabin. That got all so electrician, changed all that. So it's overhead now, the roof.
So that's up and out of the way.
All up the code, yeah. That's about it for this week.
Well, things are getting busy.
Yeah, there's a lot more comments and phone calls coming in about projects.
And are you seeing anything that isn't being permitted? Are you driving around?
Yeah, just one job, and supposedly, it was last Friday. It was for a bathroom job, and went around and around with the owner, and then there was a licensed plumber, but a licensed electrician, and I said they were supposed to, they know that they're supposed to check for a permit. And, so when I called from an electrician later on, he was very sorry that he didn't notice that there wasn't a permit, and he noticed that there should be one.
Yeah.
And we brought it to the plumber yet, and the homeowner hasn't come in yet, but I'm going to give him until Thursday till he give him a call again.
Yeah.
So, and it was for a complete gut out of the bathroom with high-end appliances and stuff, and so.
You want to look at the plumbing, you want to look at the water.
Yeah, sure we did, right, yeah. So, but yeah, that's my only, basically, without permits these days. Came across.
Okay.
Busy time of
Yeah,
year.
it is, yeah, that's for sure.
That's excellent. Any more questions for Kevin?
No.
All right.
Thanks for the update.
Looking good.
All right. Next up, under new business, taking a look at the board appointments that are on our list here. We've got a couple of library trustees. We've got 2 alternates, Jennifer Coffey and Fred Tompkins. Those both come as recommendations from the library trustees. Conservation Commission members, we've got Tom Seidel, who's the chair, and Brian Byrne, who is the vice chair, have both submitted letters requesting reappointment. And for the planning board, Dick, your term is looking like it's ready for an update. And Chris McAleer is also, his seat is up and he has submitted a letter requesting appointment. For the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we have 2 regular members who have submitted letters requesting reappointment. Huntley Allen and Dave Metesky. And for the Old Library Management Committee, we have a term up that is currently being held by Alicia Hawks, and she has submitted a letter requesting reappointment. And I am assuming that we didn't get any more requests for those positions than the individuals currently serving. So, first of all, are you going to submit a letter?
Yes, I will.
Okay, all right. Not sure if we can vote on that opening today, or if we need to have the quorum present to,
Oh, on Dick's?
yeah.
I think we can,
He's never had to do a letter before. It's usually been just the selectman liaison, the selectman appointed.
Right, but that's what I mean. We're going to have to appoint
Oh,
him, and
so-
if John's not here,
Right. So you can wait on him.
we can table Dick until
Yeah.
John's back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we can go ahead and act on the rest of the letters.
on the letters that have come in, I
Yeah.
think we should
Okay.
appoint them.
You want to make that motion?
I will.
Okay, well,
Motion.
I'll second it. And do you have any more comments on any of them?
No, I'm glad to see people still stepping forward to fill these positions.
Well, that would be my only comment too, was one of appreciation, that we're glad these people step up. The town needs volunteerism to work, and it's really nice to see these people having served and want to continue to serve. So all those in favor of accepting the letters requesting appointment or reappointment to board and trustee and committees in town, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you. All right. Next up is the North Country Angler request. How are they coming along on their, we've got the fishing day scheduled for June 2nd?
They're asking for permission.
Okay, and then they want us to approve it so they can start promoting the event. This is the second time this has come before us. Dick, any thoughts on that?
No, I think it was successful last year, and, they came in, did what they said.
They stocked
The pond
Yeah.
and, held their event, and I think it was a great joy to everybody that took part.
Okay, well, I'll accept a motion to approve June 2nd, 2018 as the North Country Angler Fishing Day down at the pond in the park.
I make that motion.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. And we've got a title search contract here. That's nothing we need to vote on. It's just something we need to sign.
It's one that Karen submits every year, and I think in the past you've made motions for it. But
Okay, so this is with a contract with an independent contractor. And so this would be approving the contract between Town of Jackson and Saunders Searches LLC. Entertain a motion to approve that contract before us.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Any more discussion on that at all? The cap amount on that contract, $473.86.
Looks good to me.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Let you sign that. Excellent. Next up, the 2017 equalization ratio. This is just an FYI. Our equalization ratio for the year 2017 was 94.5%. And no action needs to be taken on that one.
I think
Next.
the other
Yeah.
part of that is that I think next year we need to come to 100% with a reval. I think next year we have to zero out on the reval.
Mhm. Yeah. Good
But,
point.
we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's not a bad number at all. Okay. Next up was an item of new business that we had questions about, and on the agenda it is 6E. It is the proposed resurfacing program, and we had issues around mid-block crosswalks. It was a state letter that came in, and we also had some questions around not just the mid-block crosswalks, but what maintenance entails when there is one, and whether they, in their eyes, we have any mid-block crosswalks. So we're going to table that until we hear from the Department of Transportation. And then we had one other agenda item of new business to add on, and that is the Town of Wentworth's request that just came in today, is why we put it on the list. Wentworth is requesting permission to serve alcohol outside of the licensed area. They're going to put up another tent for wedding receptions, and they're going to run that facility between May 1st and November 5th. And so, Dick, do you have any...
No, they've complied with, the noise regulations. I think they've always cooperated with everything we've asked, so I will go ahead and grant them the ability to have those weddings.
Okay. So, let's accept that motion to approve the permission for the Wentworth to serve alcohol outside their licensed area as written.
Make that motion.
And I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Then I have one other new business.
Thank you. Floor is yours.
I've got a letter to go into Sergeant Boothby's record, and I was just going to paraphrase it for the
Okay.
It's a letter that's going into Sergeant Boothby's file. It was his conduct when responding to an accident on Switchback where a car went down over an embankment. He just immediately responded, roped off to his cruiser, went down, got the doors open, helped the people up, did a great job, just, acted in a very professional manner. A family from Newton, Mass, husband, wife, and a 12-year-old son. And he just acted without hesitation and took care of business. So it's something I think we can all be very proud of. Into his record.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Chief, anything to add to that?
No, just I think it's emblematic of the work that he and Ryan and Gary and Mike do, and myself on a daily basis is, we look for need, we try to serve that need, and we do it without hesitation. In that case, he sure did. They were, if it wasn't for the trees that they hit and were on practically inverted, they would have rotated down that hill at least 2 times, and it could have been very, very tragic. And in any event, they couldn't get out of the car because of the position of the vehicle, and really had no plan. Nathan asked them, what were you going to do? And they said, we didn't know. We're just going to wait to be rescued because it was so precarious. But he had tied a rope to the cruiser and basically emergency rappelled down and get him out of the car and drove him to the station for comfort. And they were checked up in the ambulance. The gentleman was injured slightly. And so like I said, to him, he'd tell you it was nothing. But in my eyes, and I think in the public's eyes, it's quite something. So I want
Which
to
officer
be
was
formally
this?
recognized.
Thank
Which
you.
officer?
Sergeant Boothby.
Well, that's excellent, and thanks for taking the time to craft a letter of commendation and make sure that gets into his file. It's a great ending to that story, and like you say, it could have been tragic, and we're glad he was there and trained to take action.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next up, old business, transfer station updates. The warrant article passed. Town has spoken, so we'll be beginning phase 3 this year. We're trying right now to schedule a meeting with the Bartlett Selectmen for a transfer station.
Whichever Wednesday works.
Okay, great. We'll check with John, and so there should be something happening here in April. Other than that, nothing new. John's the transfer station liaison, and he's not here with any updates or reports, but that's what we know is has been going on that we can update you with. In addition, we have the yearly scrap metal contract in again for Roger Labby, and that is at a flat rate amount that he got last year. We end up contributing to a total amount of $1,250 is what he purchases the rights to the metal pile for, and he pulls metal out. I think once we get all of the metal into a roll-off container, which is the hope up there, as we continue to pull those roll-off containers out of the recycling area, that he'll have a period of time to get up there and pull metal out before it goes into the roll-off container. But for now, this is the agreement, the same agreement we've put in place with him for a number of years. And his year starts on April 1st and goes until March 31st. And this has been signed already by the Bartlett Board of Selectmen. Dick, any thoughts about it?
No.
Okay.
I'm happy to have him salvage what he can.
So I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the contract between the towns of Jackson and Bartlett and Roger Labby to purchase rights to the scrap metal that's deposited at the transfer station.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so go ahead and have you sign that. Okay. Good. Next up, 7C, health insurance. Sarah had asked us to go ahead and put that on this meeting's agenda as well. Dick, have you got any thoughts, anything you want to add that's health insurance related? I know we had a discussion, well, we had citizens' comments earlier, we had the discussion at the town meeting. Any thoughts or any new input from you?
No, other than, we're going to see out the year with our contract the way it is, so nothing will change. I think next October we start getting our facts and figures from the companies that are going to cover us. So October we'll start the process, and I think it goes in place in January.
Yeah, that's typically the timeline for health insurance. Any comments out there from the audience that are health insurance related? Sarah?
Yes, I'd like to know if it's feasible, if when you're looking at the different policies and the regulations, I'm unfamiliar with what towns can or cannot do, but is it feasible that there can be a citizen group who also at that time can be a part of seeing what is offered to the towns and have citizen input as to how they feel about it?
Well, in the past, we've done that in public meeting. We basically go out and we gather up different health insurance policies directed at municipalities, and happy to kind of like when we share that in public meeting, as we always do, seek input. So we're absolutely doing it all in an open and transparent way. So I don't know if there's a need to put a committee together or not. I mean, basically it's Primex and it's interlocal health trust where municipal health insurance policies come from. So if we see a need for that, we certainly always spend a couple of different meetings going over it and in public. So that's certainly an opportunity to weigh in if there are concerns. We've never had anybody weigh in with concerns, but if we do, when we go through it, we'll be happy to seek input. Any other comments? I'll circle back around to Sarah once I get everybody the first time. Go ahead, Nancy.
Nancy Davis. I think there have been concerns expressed at least the last 4 town meetings about the cost of health insurance, so I just kind of beg to differ that it hasn't been talked about. And I mean, from what I understand, the deductible is $500 or $1,000. And I've only talked with a couple other local towns, but they were astounded that we're that our health insurance costs $30,000 a year. I've had health insurance through all, 4 of my employers, and Stony Morrow was extremely generous by most people's standards, and our health insurance did not cost anywhere near $30,000, and it wouldn't today. We have an excellent plan at the Appalachian Mountain Club. It costs $15,000 a year. So I don't understand what could possibly be driving this, because it would be affecting every other town in the state as well.
Mhm.
So I guess if you haven't considered a high deductible plan, I guess I'd like to learn more about why you haven't, to bring that cost down.
Okay. And like
I
I
don't
say,
think anyone in this room is paying
Yeah.
$30,000 a year for their health insurance, aside from the
Yeah.
town.
Penny,
I'd be very interested in having a committee, a citizen committee with the selectmen, get involved with just trying to understand the process of how bids are solicited, where they're being solicited from, and what the town's opportunities are for soliciting bids from insurance companies, whether it all has to be insurance companies that serve just municipalities, or whether it can be other options. Again, other towns have excellent plans that are at considerably lower rates. So I'd be very interested to understand and learn the process, and maybe even utilizing some folks' talents and resources in towns for their experience with outside insurance companies in municipalities that provide health insurance, to try to get the costs down, analyze if our insurance is being driven high because of improper use of the insurance, such as going to the emergency room instead of going to primary care. Would a higher deductible that the employee has to pay encourage better health and better use of their primary care as opposed to the ER, things like that? I think we all know there's a huge amount of things to look at regarding health insurance, and $30,000 is an extraordinary amount of money for a policy, and even though we know that all policies are expensive, that is pretty amazing.
Mhm. Yeah,
I have to echo what everybody else has said about the cost of the insurance. I've been on the town insurance here for a long time through Gino, previous service. And of course, I pay the full amount, and it's nowhere near $30,000. And I can tell you I have top-notch coverage in addition to what I pay every month, which I consider pretty high. It's nowhere near this figure. And I've had some extensive medical problems with very few co-pays. Even my prescription coverage has been fantastic. So I really don't understand where this $30,000 is coming from. I mean, if you're paying, what do you call this reimbursement to an employee of $17,000, I don't even pay that much totally for my insurance. Something is wrong here, and I really think that the citizens here tonight have come to find out what that is. We want to see this. We just can't understand, if you can show us where this...
Well, it's going to take some time to put that, you're comparing, say, your
Well, it's through this
for-
town, though, your municipal, whatever.
I think I can tell you why I know what you're on, and you have to remember, we have different segments, whether it's family, two-person, or student
You're
plans.
comparing yourself to a family plan, and that's
So-
incorrect.
Not to say that the insurance can't be looked at, that it's not high, that there could be other options, but you just can't, it's not 30 across the board. So, just to
Okay,
clarify
so,
that.
I think it would probably satisfy a lot of people to be able to see that.
Well, at least the pricing is in the town report, as far as what the costs are for their two plans
policy.
offered. So there are two plans offered, and that does show the breakdown in there, but not to say it shouldn't be reviewed.
and it is reviewed, every year.
Yeah.
I work for a school district, and our insurance policy is 27 and change, so I'm not sure what family plans with this kind of deductible people are looking at, but every year we go through, a fact-finding process to see what's best out there for the town, and so there are health savings accounts, there are ways to assist with deductibles to lower the deductible rate, and it seems like each year we have those conversations, and I'm sure we'll be having them again. Priscilla?
I've already researched this. Like I said, I was on the phone from 7 o'clock in the morning, non-stop, till 5 o'clock at night, looking, calling for insurance companies, just like probably you have done, maybe, I don't know, maybe you haven't done that, that's why you're in need of an insurance company. Group health insurance, United Healthcare, they are set up in New Hampshire. They do offer plans, all different kinds of plans, because they're with the federal government, HMO, PPO, all those things. They have everything that you need. You just have to get through them and get a quote from them. That's all you need to do.
Thank you. And anything anybody wants to provide with us to consider, please feel free to drop it off at the town office, and we'll put it in our insurance portfolio. And when we do our annual review of insurance options out there, we'll be happy to take it into consideration. So, yes, Bill?
Yeah. What I don't understand is I've called the insurance companies also, and every time I mention the $17,000, they said it's a third party. It has nothing to do with them. So that $17,000 was generated. Where was it generated from? In other words, the buyback. Where was that $17,000 generated? But it didn't come from the insurance companies.
Are you asking me where a specific amount of money came from?
Well, in other words, your reimbursement plan, if the individual does not take the town plan, gets reimbursed $17,000, unless I'm misunderstanding it.
Yeah.
But it says right in your book, it says $17,000.
It's not a 17, you're assuming that each individual negotiates the same price, which is not the case. So, and it's a negotiated amount, it's not coming from any insurance company.
Well, who negotiates?
What's to negotiate?
It has to do with the...
I didn't get what you said.
Question was, who negotiated?
Who negotiated?
We don't disclose things that we're not allowed to disclose by law, and we're not
I
allowed
think he's
to get
asking
into
who in the town
HIPAA.
government has negotiated
I'm sorry,
that.
hold on a minute. The protocol for the meeting is that when you have the floor, you're able to speak, okay? And we'll recognize any comment anybody wants to make on this agenda item. But if we've got more than one person trying to speak at a time, it's really, really difficult for people to share their thoughts and ideas. So, is there a hand?
Yes, I want to finish.
Okay.
Because, in other words, I went down to Tamworth, and it's right in their book. And it shows that each negotiation in each department. And the administrator down there in Tamworth, she was flabbergasted. She said, why do you bother having insurance if you're giving $17,000 as a stipend? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand here. Is an individual receiving a 17, I don't care, you don't have to name the person, is an individual receiving $17,000 not to take the town insurance? That's the question.
Yeah, and the reason we're not able to answer that question is because it violates people's protection rights under HIPAA. We have a small enough sample size here that it's a violation of somebody's right to talk about that. And so we've gotten our town council's review on that. We've heard from the New Hampshire Municipal Association. We can only disclose information that we're lawfully allowed to disclose. And so I'm here to take any other comments that anybody may have around health insurance. Happy to take them all in. The process for determining health insurance will be as open and transparent as it's always been. And we will post, and everybody will have plenty of notice to contribute at the time. We can basically have a full house of people who want to consider themselves on the committee. Anytime that we do that, as you're all here witnessing now, we don't limit public comments to public comment agenda items on the agenda. We have been known to take public comments, as we're doing now, on any agenda item, and that isn't anything I foresee changing either. So, is there anybody else that wants to make a comment going around the first time that hasn't commented? Yes, Bill.
If I may, and perhaps you've answered the question. I apologize, I wasn't here at the very beginning of your comments. I have probably 2 or 3 questions, if you'll bear with me. The first question I have is the benefit plan that is offered out by the town to its employees available for review by the public for just to see what kind of benefits are offered to individuals who are town employees? Is that available?
Yeah, that's public information
That's
as far as I
public
know.
information.
Yeah.
Is that generally available? How would we go about getting that?
Just step right up to the town office window when they're open, and they'll walk you through the process. And anything that's in there that, unless we're expressly required not to disclose it, we do, and we will.
Would that outline the opportunity that an employee has to negotiate their benefit if they are not receiving insurance, or is that not part of the material that's offered?
Well, you're talking about in the handbook, what's in our employee handbook. And so health insurance benefits, the bullet point you're referring to is the one that says employees who are already covered through another health insurance policy have the option to waive town insurance with a negotiated reimbursement, provided that proof of insurance is provided annually. So that's there, and that's right in the handbook, and all you need to do, if you want to request that, you can request that as well also.
And then my last question is the negotiation itself. Is that done with the Board of Selectmen? Is that done within the department, or how is that accomplished?
The Board of Selectmen do the final okay on anything like that, and each department has a selectman who is a liaison to that department. First time around, B.
On the other towns, they're all created equally, employees, they all get the same amount. Why do one gets this, one gets that?
Well,
Aren't you supposed to
yeah.
be working for the
Yeah.
taxpayers?
We're happy to reconsider this stuff. I mean, I think when I asked Dick if he had any thoughts or anything to contribute to this issue, most of the people in this room, if not all of us, were at the town meeting. And it was presented as a cost-saving measure. Last year, we would have paid out $22,000 more than we did if we didn't have a negotiated way to encourage employees to stay on spouses' and health insurance policies that were in place. And so, that again also was a warrant article or a motion that was made that didn't pass. And so we're going to continue to find cost-saving measures wherever we can to save.
Have excellent plans that are at considerably lower rates. So I'd be very interested to understand and learn the process, and maybe even utilizing some folks' talents and resources in towns for their experience with outside insurance companies in municipalities that provide health insurance, to try to get the costs down, analyze if our insurance is being driven high because of improper use of the insurance, such as going to the emergency room instead of going to primary care. Would a higher deductible that the employee has to pay encourage better health and better use of their primary care as opposed to the ER, things like that? I think there's I mean, we all know there's a huge amount of things to look at in regarding health insurance, and $30,000 is an extraordinary amount of money for a policy, and even though we know that all policies are expensive, that is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I have to echo what everybody else has said about the cost of the insurance. I've been on the town insurance here for a long time through Gino, previous service. And of course, I pay the full amount, and it's nowhere near $30,000. And I can tell you I have top-notch coverage in addition to what I pay every month, which I consider pretty high. It's nowhere near this figure. And I've had some extensive medical problems with very few co-pays. Even my prescription coverage has been fantastic. So I really don't understand where this $30,000 is coming from. I mean, if you're paying, what do you call this reimbursement to an employee of $17,000, I don't even pay that much totally for my insurance. Something is wrong here, and I really think that the citizens here tonight have come to find out what that is. We want to see this. We just can't understand. Maybe if you can show us where this.
Well, it's going to take some time to put that. You're comparing, say, your
Well, it's through
plan.
this town, though. Your with municipal, whatever.
I think I can tell you why I know what you're on, and
Yeah.
and you have to remember, we have different segments, whether it's family, two-person, or
You're
student plans.
comparing yourself to a family plan, and that's
So-
incorrect.
Not to say that the insurance can't be looked at, that it's not high, that there could be other options, but you just can't, it's not 30 across the board. So, just to
Okay,
clarify
so
that.
I think it would probably satisfy a lot of people to be able to see that.
Well, at least the pricing is in the town report, as far as what the costs are for their two plans. Mhm. So there are two plans offered, and that does show the breakdown in there, but not to say it shouldn't be reviewed.
Yeah.
And it is reviewed, every year. I mean,
Yeah.
I work for a school district, and our insurance policy is 27 and change, so I'm not sure what family plans with this kind of deductible people are looking at, but every year we go through, a fact-finding process to see what's best out there for the town, and so there are health savings accounts, there are ways to assist with deductibles to lower the deductible rate, and it seems like each year we have those conversations, and I'm sure we'll be having them again. Priscilla?
I've already researched this. Like I said, I was on the phone from 7 o'clock in the morning, non-stop, till 5 o'clock at night, looking, calling for insurance companies, just like probably you have done, maybe. I don't know, maybe you haven't done that. That's why you're in need of an insurance company. Group health insurance, United Healthcare. They are set up in New Hampshire. They do offer plans, all different kinds of plans, because they're with the federal government. HMO, PPO, all those things. They have everything that you need. You just have to get through them and get a quote from them. That's all you need to do.
Thank you. And anything anybody wants to provide with us to consider, please feel free to drop it off at the town office, and we'll put it in our insurance portfolio. And when we do our annual review of insurance options out there, we'll be happy to take it into consideration. So, yes, Bill?
Yeah, what I don't understand is I've called the insurance companies also, and every time I mention the $17,000, they said it's a third party. It has nothing to do with them. So that $17,000 was generated. Where was it generated from? In other words, the buyback. Where was that $17,000 generated? But it didn't come from the insurance companies.
Are you asking me where a specific amount of money came from?
Well, in other words, your reimbursement plan, if the individual does not take the town plan, gets reimbursed $17,000, unless I'm misunderstanding it.
Yeah.
But it says right in your book, it says $17,000.
It's not a 17, you're assuming that each individual negotiates the same price, which is not the case. So, and it's a negotiated amount, it's not coming from any insurance company.
Well, who negotiates?
What's to negotiate?
It has to do with
I
the,
didn't get what you said.
Question was, who negotiated?
Who negotiated it?
We don't disclose things that we're not allowed to disclose by law, and we're not allowed to get into.
I think he's asking who in the town
HIPAA.
government has negotiated
I'm sorry,
that.
hold on a minute. The protocol for the meeting is that when you have the floor, you're able to speak, okay? And we'll recognize any comment anybody wants to make on this agenda item. But if we've got more than one person trying to speak at a time, it's really, really difficult for people to share their thoughts and ideas. So, is there a hand?
Yes, I want to finish.
Okay.
Because, in other words, I went down to Tamworth, and it's right in their book. And it shows that each negotiation in each department. And the administrator down there in Tamworth, she was flabbergasted. She said, why do you bother having insurance if you're giving $17,000 as a stipend? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand here. Is an individual receiving a 17, I don't care, you don't have to name the person, is an individual receiving $17,000 not to take the town insurance? That's the question.
Yeah, and the reason we're not able to answer that question is because it violates people's protection rights under HIPAA. We have a small enough sample size here that it's a violation of somebody's right to talk about that. And so we've gotten our town council's review on that. We've heard from the New Hampshire Municipal Association. We can only disclose information that we're lawfully allowed to disclose. And so I'm here to take any other comments that anybody may have around health insurance. Happy to take them all in. The process for determining health insurance will be as open and transparent as it's always been. And we will post, and everybody will have plenty of notice to contribute at the time. We can basically have a full house of people who want to consider themselves on the committee. Anytime that we do that, as you're all here witnessing now, we don't limit public comments to public comment agenda items on the agenda. We have been known to take public comments, as we're doing now, on any agenda item, and that isn't anything I foresee changing either. So, is there anybody else that wants to make a comment going around the first time that hasn't commented? Yes. Bill.
If I may, and perhaps you've answered the question. I apologize, I wasn't here at the very beginning of your comments. I have probably 2 or 3 questions, if you'll bear with me. The first question I have is the benefit plan that is offered out by the town to its employees available for review by the public for just to see what kind of benefits are offered to individuals who are town employees? Is that available?
Yeah, that's public information
That's
as far as I know.
Information.
Yeah.
Is that generally available? How would we go about getting that?
Just step right up to the town office window when they're open, and they'll walk you through the process. And anything that's in there that, unless we're expressly required not to disclose it, we do, and we will.
Would that outline the opportunity that an employee has to negotiate their benefit if they are not receiving insurance, or is that not part of the material that's offered?
Well, you're talking about in the handbook, what's in our employee handbook. And so health insurance benefits, the bullet point you're referring to is the one that says employees who are already covered through another health insurance policy have the option to waive town insurance with a negotiated reimbursement, provided that proof of insurance is provided annually. So that's there, and that's right in the handbook, and all you need to do, if you want to request that, you can request that as well also.
And then my last question is the negotiation itself. Is that done with the Board of Selectmen? Is that done within the department, or how is that accomplished?
The Board of Selectmen do the final okay on anything like that, and each department has a selectman who is a liaison to that department. First time around, B.
On the other towns, they're all created equally, employees, they all get the same amount. Why do you, one gets this, one gets that?
Well,
Aren't you supposed to
yeah.
be working for
Yeah.
the taxpayers?
We're happy to reconsider this stuff. I mean, I think when I asked Dick if he had any thoughts or anything to contribute to this issue, most of the people in this room, if not all of us, were at the town meeting. And it was presented as a cost-saving measure. Last year, we would have paid out $22,000 more than we did if we didn't have a negotiated way to encourage employees to stay on spouses and health insurance policies that were in place. And so, that again also was a warrant article or a motion that was made that didn't pass. And so we're going to continue to find cost-saving measures wherever we can to save the town money whenever we can. Mr. Porath.
Yes, my first time, Jim Porath, resident here since '66, CPA, retired, and going to be buried here. I love the town. I went to the meeting and I heard a number of people raising questions about this buyback system. I was concerned about it when I heard the magnitude of it. It just, I practice in regular accounting, people that make profits, not non-profits, so I don't spend much time on this type of thing. I'm concerned about discrimination between people. It seems to me that from the town's point of view, if we're going to adopt the plan, and first I have a question whether it's discriminatory. Someone's answered in the sense you say other people have that. Well, okay, I'd like to be able to talk to the commission. Things I want to follow up on, the gathering information now. I'd like to find out what other towns are doing. It seems to me if we're also, whatever we're doing with the people in town, we ought to be doing the same thing with everyone. If they get a group insurance, and if we're buying back, whatever the figure is, that ought to be what we offer, and that's our program. I just don't think we ought to be in a position well, this guy will buy back at 6,000, someone will buy back at 8,000, some at 10. So that creates a problem in my mind. I think it puts you guys in an awkward position where you've got one guy's getting paid back, it's getting additional salaries. Next question, the one question I would like to confirm though, at the meeting they said that I think the payment of this is going in as a wage on a W-2 form. I just want to verify, is that something you can answer, whether that's the procedure?
It's going in as a health insurance reimbursement that's being taxed.
It's on a W-2 form?
Yes, it is.
On a W-2 form, okay. It shows it's in the gross wage figure?
Well, it's a separate item that's being taxed, yes.
Is it subject to FICA? State unemployment?
Yes, it's being,
So all of it?
well, I can't get into,
Either it is or it isn't.
That's it.
yes, it would be.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it
would
would be.
expect it. So when you say it's actually even, it is not even. If a guy gets $15,000 from here, the town is paying 7.5% payroll taxes on top of that. No, it's just part of his wage. That was if we've negotiated with someone for a $15,000 reimbursement on insurance, are we not paying Social Security taxes on that for the town?
We can certainly put all that in writing and document to you exactly how that reimbursement plan operates and make it available for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for, I want to make sure we're in good ground. When I look at it, I'm concerned about when we go and file for pensions later on, that those dollars that we're paying out as a fringe benefit are not calculating another benefit in the pension. I presume not, so I'm just looking for answers.
Sure.
It doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, I'm saying
Yeah.
that's discriminatory for the poor guy that's single, because he can't buy out. He needs insurance.
And the office will be happy to put that together for you.
All right.
But I need specifically
Yeah.
to know what is being requested.
And that's, you know, for us to try and take what comes during a meeting like this can be difficult. It's happened a few times where people have not been as clear, or we haven't been as clear as understanding what people ask for, and that's why, you know, all you need to do is step up to the town office window and put your request in writing, and then there's absolutely no question in anybody's mind exactly what you want.
Yep, that'll do.
Also, if everybody would write it down, when you have these questions, and I'm listening to the questions that come at us up here, and trying to sort it out and say, okay, I've got to remember to try to answer that. If you could bring it in, excuse me?
Should be in the minutes.
They are, and I'm asking you as the citizens, write it down, pass it through the window. We've got a file. We'll keep the file on the insurance. And I think that would really help answer a lot of the questions. Because as you write it out, it becomes clear for you. You figure out what you're asking for. If we can read it, then it becomes clear for us, and we can try to answer it.
Could I, this is just a factual question, not a name. Can you tell me how many people on our payroll have opted out? I'm just trying to get some idea of what we're talking about.
That was also requested in writing, and we weren't allowed to.
No, that one we could, it was 2 people.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we were allowed to.
Yeah, was the
Only
amount.
2 people?
2 people.
Yeah.
Right, that answers my question. And also, this commission, I'd like to be able to contact them and get some information myself on this program. But do you know, and again, it can be just a yes or no answer as to whether that payment, when you know, it sort of runs against my grain because you're taking something that was non-taxable to someone and you make it taxable. You know what I'm saying? It isn't what the system is usually set up for. So I'd like to be able to find out how we report that, that it has no effect on other things other than the payroll taxes. Probably affects workers' comp, I presume. Does that have to be reported as a workers' comp? So those are the questions I'm looking at, okay?
Sure.
I just want to make sure that the town's on good ground and we're not I don't want someone that's in the highway department suing the town later on, 20 years later, for a difference in pension and on a class action basis because he was not treated fairly.
Yeah.
And so that's where I stand.
Thank you. Anyone else for the first time around? Okay, second time around, Sarah. Oh, sorry,
No,
Penny, go ahead.
I'm still thinking about my question.
Okay, we'll take everybody once, and then we'll go around and take the ones the second time that want to comment a second time. So now would be the time if you want to make a comment.
Yeah, I'm still wondering about the whole process in the fall when you reach out and get bids and whatnot, and being able to have citizen input, and not just my opinion, but if other people feel the same way, about really looking hard at the benefits that are offered to the employees. And it's not a concern about the quality of work or personalities or anything like that. It's not personal. It's getting down to the taxpayer and really looking at the benefits and how we can manage the expenses in a real world. It's almost, a lot of municipalities and governments and whatnot, the benefits are pretty amazing compared to the public sector. So it's not just my opinion, but it's other people's opinions. And if I just speak my opinion to 3 selectmen, it doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. So how, as a citizen, do we get together and, I don't know, communicate that I'm not the only one that might feel this way?
Mhm.
And feel like I feel as though I'm being heard.
Mhm.
How do
Well,
I-
I think this is the process right here, and I mean, we had an annual meeting last week, and that was a process where everybody spoke their mind too, and so this isn't the only time and place where we take input. The most important meeting of the year is when the legislative body convenes, as far as us taking direction. It's not the only time we take direction, but we listen closely and carefully to the will of the voters. And I feel like that was a real clear message that we got. It's not the only time we're going to get a message. I mean, insurance is a big issue. As somebody said, why don't we table this and end up with a presentation? And we can certainly do that through the summer. And we have. I mean, I remember when Bill Lockhart was selectman, we spent quite a bit of time looking at the changes that the ACA program was bringing in, and Cadillac plans, and how they were going to be taxed, and how it was going to impact municipalities, and what Primex had, and what Interlocal Trust had, and what we could do about deductibles that could save us some money. And it's not like, in this day and age, it's a major discussion every year. And we're always looking for ways to cut costs associated with insurance, recognizing that we're like every other municipality out there that wants to save money wherever we can. I put out some of the towns that were part of our fact-finding mission. I think we had 17 towns just on the short list that we went through at the annual meeting. And the reimbursement plans, we're certainly not aware of doing those any differently than any other town does them. Their range was anywhere from $3,250 to $16,500 that they reimbursed. So we don't feel like we're out of line with any of that. And knowing that, we're instituting a reimbursement, health insurance reimbursement plan like many towns do. Knowing what I pay for insurance and how it's right in line with what our town pays, even though it's a much smaller pool of employees. There's nothing that I've been able to come across that indicates to me that we're out of line in any way, shape, or form, but it's a fluid issue. It's ongoing. We take a good hard look at it every year, and we'll continue to do so. And, we can just take a copy of the signature sheet for this meeting, and we can turn around and make sure that you're all personally informed the next time it's on the agenda, and you can be as much a part of that process as you'd like to be. If it's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, going around still on the first,
I
yes.
just wanted to say one last thing. It's really hard to present something when you're the only people that can really go out and get the quote. That's why, I can't just call up United Healthcare and say, oh, you know what, I got 10 people here, can you give me a quote on that? No, I can't do that. You have to go out and do that, and then you have to present it to us, and then get an opinion from us.
Very good. Sarah, your hand was up.
Right, just a continuation on the thought that in the past, like last November, the year before, we had a meeting where we all met here and talked about the insurance. Last year we did not, because it was stated that there wasn't going to be that much of a change. So there was no meeting for the town crew or the retirees this past year. And again, I really feel we have very knowledgeable people in the town who have worked in insurance companies and so on and so forth, that as Mr. Bogish did with the vehicles, he helped the town with that when we were purchasing cars for our police department. I would really truly like to see, as the process begins, notification, as you say, maybe to the ones that signed this today, that you're starting your process, and that we could all be a part of that process at the very beginning.
Anybody's welcome to be part of any process they want, and so I think it's it makes sense to me to take down the signature sheet and notify everyone that was here and,
Well, it'll be on the agenda,
yeah, yep.
so.
Okay, any other thoughts on health insurance for the record? All right, well, let's move right to another fun item, and that's the public comments. And we can continue on with comments about health insurance or whatever it is you care to comment on. George, your hand went up first.
Yeah, a couple of things. I finally got to look through the proposed budget. I'm under the building inspector, an item that says septic design review. And I looked at you and I have had the discussion of the duties for the inspector. And we went through the iteration of the references to septic systems from his duties was eliminated.
That's Burr Phillips, that's not building inspector.
Second,
That's the town engineer's line, it's not the building inspector. I mean, it's under his category, but it's not for him.
okay. Good deal. Second thing, I submitted a request that you relook at posting the budget once a month. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that, especially as we start a new budget year and looking back on the request for a couple of times on low attendance at budget hearings. And so I tied those together, said that was one of the primary interests of putting out a budget review so people could understand the process and know where we stand. The first time it came out, that we agreed to on the format was totally incompatible with the normal budget. So again, I sent the letter in to say, look at it again and consider it. I don't know, haven't heard any feedback yet, so I didn't know if anything had been done with that.
Well, I think that came up at our 27th meeting or no, I'm not sure, but we've posted the budget out here constantly, and it doesn't have many people look at it, but it's there if anybody's interested in it. And I think that it's probably easy enough to take that document and just pass along general departments is what you wanted. You didn't want a line item breakdown for each department. You just wanted a general department and expenditure piece. And I don't know that that's going to be that difficult for us to do.
Well, my question though is, it's your budget. It's the selectmen's budget. And to be able to ask questions about the budget, we have to address the selectmen. And the only place that's available is at your scheduled meetings. Secondly, can you put it out in the minutes so it goes out on e-news?
If we didn't really see a need to do that, and the last time John was here, and I certainly don't want to revisit something when we've already made a decision without John in the room, but we didn't think that was necessary, and it's posted out here, and it doesn't really seem to generate much interest. There's really
No, because no one comes there and looks at that.
fair enough.
But anyway, that was my thought behind it, so when we get to the next round of budget hearings, people are up to speed of what we're doing.
Yeah, I can tell you in the 6 years I've been here, I haven't seen a dwindling of attendance at budget hearings, but if you have, we'll take that into consideration.
Come on 2 e-news things.
Hand up? Anywhere else?
Well, I was just going to agree with George. Yeah, that would be a really good thing to do. And I think people today are used to getting a lot of their information electronically, and they're not going to stop here and do that. And I just think it would be a good service to the town. It might generate a little bit more interest, so we don't have these last-minute panics about what it's costing for health insurance, because we're watching the trends, and I think it's something you should consider doing. And I'm sure somebody with the knowledge of putting all these items together could do that pretty simply for you.
Thank you. More comments?
Just
Nancy?
to clarify, because I'm coming in on the tail end of this, are we talking about a budget versus actual by month?
Yes.
So, okay. And so what's posted in the hallway is budget versus actual by month?
The last time he asked, he wanted just a general budget and percent of the budget that had been expended.
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's in the hallway could be produced electronically? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is fair to say.
Okay.
Was there another hand?
Just two quick questions. The commission that's in charge of this group insurance, is that what's the name of it?
There is no commission.
Well, you said that someone, I heard there was some sort of approval of these buybacks and it's done.
The board has
Yeah.
spent
No,
a fair amount of time
no,
looking at
no,
that. Board of
The select
Selectmen.
board.
No, there's some.
Well, there's interlocal trust, but that, they have nothing to do with the reimbursement negotiation.
No, I understand. I mean, my question is, somehow we found out that a lot of other towns do this, and it's been approved, this process has been approved by some commission of buybacks, no?
No, I don't,
So
I've never
this-
used the word commission or buyback. It's
All right.
it's a reimbursement plan that towns adopt as a cost-saving measure. But it's all handled with towns, not any kind of an outside commission that I'm aware of.
So has anyone ever had an opinion that this is not discriminatory?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, so we haven't come to terms. Could I suggest that, in my mind, it's a simple thing. You know, it just doesn't smell right. Apparently we're getting different things for different people. I'm saying from the discrimination point of view that that's possible. Would the town consider getting a legal opinion that this conforms with ERISA? And I will volunteer to pay the first $1,000. All right, and if it goes over that, you've got a bigger problem than I think. You should take the cost.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked into this, and we'll be happy to,
But
you know,
you say you've looked into it a lot. What I'm asking now, do you have a legal opinion that this qualifies, that this doesn't violate ERISA?
we'll look into that. I don't know exactly what the legal opinion that
Okay,
came
thank
back was that we could do it. So, you know, absolutely, please feel free to make any requests like that at the town office. So we've got it in writing and there's no confusion moving forward, and we'll be happy to, you know, produce what we can and what we have, and certainly listen to ideas that are concerns to people.
But again, just finishing up with all I'm concerned about is where no one said that this is written in, that you can have these buybacks. I'm concerned that that might be a discriminatory issue, especially with someone that's single, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I would like to have the town have a legal opinion.
Yeah.
What I want is someone else to sue if we're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well-
So, and I'll reiterate again. I'll pay the first $1,000.
Okay, I'm not sure what the first $1,000 is for, but
To pay
again,
the-
this is
pay for the legal fee.
a health insurance reimbursement plan that we've modeled after other towns, and we're in not in the high end or the low end range of the towns, and we'll be happy to produce a legal opinion that it's an appropriate and legal thing to do.
That's fine.
Nancy?
That's all I want.
I guess I think there's a little confusion with the wording, because technically you're not reimbursing someone because they haven't paid anything. I mean, if I'm an employee, you're reimbursing me for my spouse's insurance. Is that accurate? You're not reimbursing me for anything I paid.
We didn't coin the term. We're
Okay,
just,
so I think
you
it's
know,
more of a
right in
fringe
line.
benefit.
Okay.
And I guess I do have a problem with the whole discrimination thing, because if I'm a family and you're going to reimburse me $17,000, but George is an individual, he has no choice. He gets nothing. He has to take the health insurance. So it doesn't seem fair. And I guess the thing I have a problem with is the other towns that I spoke with have a cap. It's $3,600 for an individual or a family. It's not a subjective figure. It's not a percentage of insurance. It's not dependent on where the spouse works or their bill. It's a flat fee. And that's where I think we're not on even ground there.
And
Or
that's
even solid ground.
those are stipends that the towns set up that are actually giving extra money to these individuals. The terminology of negotiated reimbursement gives zero added income to the person that's receiving the reimbursement.
The person that's receiving the reimbursement has zero out-of-pocket costs now. If I'm a family and I got reimbursed $17,000, I have no annual cost to my health insurance. George does.
All right, even though we kind of finished up on the agenda item earlier, and we're coming back to it again. That's fine. One more round here. I've got 3 hands, and then we'll move on.
Well,
Beth.
I just think this whole discussion points to the fact that there has to be, somebody suggested some kind of a citizen group or something to go over this and just to satisfy the questions here, because there's obviously a lot of issues here that have to be worked out.
Yeah.
And we can be groundbreaking again, like we are with Jackson E-News, like the first to do it. Nothing wrong with being the leader.
Sarah.
Yes, I believe in the paperwork that I gave you from Conway, it stated that it was the health insurance waiver. And it showed you that it didn't matter if you were 1, 2, or family. It was the same amount of money. It was $1,250. So that way it's, I think that covers a lot by saying it's just one waiver and it was one price.
Yeah, and that's a stipend policy. So it's different than a reimbursement program, and that's what we looked into. You're referring to part of the employee benefit package in the town of Conway, and they've also got life insurance, disability insurance. They've got a benefit package where they're allowed to accrue any sick time, any vacation time, and get payouts at the end. It's quite an attractive package. That's one piece of it. And we didn't really feel a need for developing in a benefit package like that, because that's a real cost to the town. That's not a cost-saving measure. But at any rate, your point is taken. Penny.
Is there some place or some document that explains the difference? I mean, you must have referenced something in order to come up with what's a health reimbursement versus a waiver versus a buyback.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounded like there were 2 specific things you just referenced there. Is there a document that we could reference so we might be able to better understand?
When we looked into it, we polled other towns. What are you doing? How are you saving money? Do you like what you're doing? And we ran across a town that offers 55% of the value. We don't reimburse anybody anything more than there's a documented out-of-pocket expense. And so that's where we are with it. That's what the town heard at the town meeting. We've certainly taken in a lot of information, and I appreciate it. We're going to bear in mind that we've got a signature list of people who came here tonight primarily for health insurance interest reasons. You'll certainly all know, be notified if you want to put...
I'd rather just check the agenda because I don't want to be responsible for missing anyone.
Right.
But it will be on the agenda, I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so thank you.
Different question.
Yeah. Okay. So if we've got citizens' comments that want to make comments for the record that are non-health insurance related, because I think we've got all the health insurance related information we need tonight. Has anybody got anything to add that's not related to the health insurance issue? George, what's that? Do what?
Take the wreaths down.
Take the wreaths down.
Okay. Easter eggs.
George.
Yeah, 2 quick things. At the town meeting, there were a number of questions on the operation at the transfer station. One of those was to be some specifics on, for instance, plastics. What bin goes where, and it doesn't help what's up there now. There's a better way to present that information. And then they talk about the bench that was put in that separates you and where you put your trash, which is hard to get everything over the edge. So has anything happened from the suggestions made at town meeting?
Our transfer station update is that we are about 2/3 of the way through the renovation process. Nothing's finished up there yet. We had discussions about whether we would even try and bail until the project was done. So they are bailing when they can in the middle of an ongoing project, and so we appreciate the patience. It's not done yet. It's 66% complete, And I expect to be able to say a year from now that the renovation project is complete, but it's certainly far from complete up there right now.
And also, Don Miller was in just the other day, and he's aware that there's confusion about the recycling, and they're working on it, and it's...
One of the suggestions was put out some info on e-news. Anything happening with that?
Not yet, because it's still in the works, but we're aware of it.
Thank you.
And finally, I
Yes.
submitted my last pothole report. I didn't know if you had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, and I know you talked to Pat earlier today and got it right from the road agent's mouth, just where we're at with that pothole that's on the bottom of a wet hill, and we're on it, and we're going to be filling it in as soon as weather permits with hot patch. And
So in the meantime, we've put up with what's there.
Sarah.
And it's a safety hazard.
Yeah.
I did think of one thing. I do appreciate the fact that the signs have been put up on Green Hill Road about children caution, the sign for that and the speed limit. They were put up yesterday, and I appreciate that. And I hope people and municipal vehicles adhere to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bill.
Yeah, Bill Terry, the item I wanted to bring up is regarding the Gray's Inn garage across the way. I sent a note in to the Selectmen last year indicating that there is a broken window in the front area. It's still broken. The sills are rotted out, and the response I got from a private conversation was that we're not going to address it. The building looks derelict. I think it invites a look-see at the town that is not very pleasant. It's an eyesore. And granted, the rest of the building may have lots of issues, but I think we need to at least keep a decent front on that building. Anytime you have a building that looks derelict, you invite more problems, and I'm sure Chief could probably provide more information about that, but I expect it's going to get vandalized if it continues to be left in its current state.
Okay, thank you. It has been a topic of discussion at recent meetings, and we can talk about it again. There's a general consensus it's not worth putting money into, yet it's tight, and there's things in there that are stored. But we'll be happy to,
I guess my suggestion is that if you have a broken pane on the front of the building, you're just inviting trouble.
Okay, thank you. Penny?
On the 2018 proposed budget, it mentions Goody with a salary of $45.75, and I'm just going back a couple of years with hiring of the fire chief and Goody's role for subsequent to that, and then I understood that at some point he wasn't going to be on payroll anymore because we had a full once the fire chief was fully trained, that we wouldn't need Goody's services anymore. So I might be getting that wrong.
Okay. We can address that at a meeting. I think basically his expertise was all around the elevator piece that we dealt with at the Wentworth and the certification he had. Kevin, is there anything you want to add to Mr. Gaudreau's job description?
Yeah, I think that the money's there put in the budget in case we need to use them, and if we do, on a lot of occasions, the job that we're using them for usually reimburse either all of it or most of it in fees.
So he's a
subcontractor. I don't think like a subcontractor, and I think this year we haven't even used him yet. I didn't know he was down here for not even a day. It might have been just for actual fire training.
So we might not even use that money.
That's correct. Right. That's just put aside.
And also understand that we have to raise the money to pay him even if we're getting reimbursed. So we raise it, get reimbursed, it goes into the general fund.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up, as I think everybody's had at least a half a dozen shots here tonight at the public comments, and we have a non-public meeting we need to go into. So thank you all for your comments and your input, and appreciate it, and we hope you can make our next meeting. I gave you those dates earlier, but in case you missed them, our April meetings are April 10th and April 24th, both at 3:30 p.m. right here. With that, I'll accept a motion to enter into non-public session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.